All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining for the third session today. Okay. All right. So we have discussed two sessions so far. The first one was search for happiness, and we discovered that everyone is trying to search for happiness different ways, but not succeeding. So we briefly summarize that. And on the second day, we briefly touched upon whether there is some supreme power behind this huge material universe. So, as we discussed on the very first day, that there are 5 sessions primarily. Search for happiness, which we discussed on the very first day. Who controls our destiny, or does God exist? Is what we discussed on the second day. And today, very, very important subject, how do we get access to this truth about this personality called as God? For some, it is formless. For some, it is, with form. Some people do not believe in the existence of God. There are multiple views, but we finally concluded in the last session that if we analyze this universe a little more objectively, intelligently, we can easily make out that somebody exists. There is a supreme hand behind everything which is happening in this universe. But how do we objectively get access to the truth is what we're going to discuss today. It's a very, very important subject. And finally, we also will try to conclude who is that God? Who is that one person who is controlling everything? Controlling seasons, controlling planets, controlling you and me, controlling vegetation, controlling 8.4 million of species. Who is that one person who is controlling everything? I'm going to reveal that today. And on 5th day, we'll discuss, which is the next session, subsequent session, is what is our real identity? Who am I? And what is the law of karma? Why do good people suffer? And why do bad people enjoy? Why good things happen to bad people and why bad things happen to good people? What is the law behind this mysterious, word which we see every day? Yeah. And finally, how do we attain eternal, lasting happiness, real happiness, not occasional, not temporary, but real happiness? Yeah. So today I'm going to refer to some of the evidences from our scriptures. So I'm going to use some verses from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. So be a little more attentive. Yeah, I'll also try to be a little slow so that you can digest what I'm saying. But your attention is very, very important. Yeah. As I mentioned the very first day, all sessions are interconnected. So it'll be nice if you're present for all the sessions. Else you might miss the connection between various sessions, link between various sessions. So it's very important for you to be present across all the sessions. You want to get the maximum benefit out of the seminar. And then also, I can understand it is Sunday, sitting at home, along with the family. There are various possible distractions. So This is a very subtle subject, so you need to be very attentive, avoid distractions as much as possible. Okay. Keep your videos on. If video is off, one tend to be distracted. So please try to be as attentive as possible. Try to make notes so that you can revise it later. It's 5-session seminar. It's very difficult to remember everything. Yeah, so like a good student, we should make brief notes so we can always refer and revise what we have learned. And finally, keep your mind open, because few things will come. Everybody carries some notions, preconceived notions. And we all believe that my notion, my perception is always correct. Yeah. So we keep our door closed, mind door closed, so then we stop the learning process. We stop the flow of knowledge. So we have to be open. Anything we discuss will be fact based on evidences, scriptures. So there's nothing which I'm going to manufacture, myself. So everything will be very objective, with evidences, with proofs, whatever I present, whatever I say. We discussed on the first day that human beings are different from animals. How are they different? If you look at daily life of animals, their routine is primarily, worried about working for eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, defending. But human beings have higher intelligence, atatu brahma jigyasa. They have intelligence to inquire about life, not only eating, sleeping, about death. What happens after death? What do I achieve after death? Where did I come from? Where will I go? Yeah. How should I live this life? What is the purpose of life? Why am I suffering? Why do I become deceased? Why do I become old? Why do I die? So these are some inquiries which only human being has been entitled to ask for. Animals cannot inquire about life. They can inquire only about where will I get my next meal? How will I enjoy sex life? How will I defend myself if there's an attack on me? Yeah. So if human beings are also worried only about inquiring, eating, sleeping, then they are, not very different from animals. So human beings have to inquire. One who inquires, one who makes these inquiries, only he can be called as human being. Otherwise, he doesn't fall in the category of human beings. Okay. Then we discuss the higher intelligence given to human beings is to ask why are there sufferings in one's life? What is the purpose of life? How do we follow, state laws? We try to understand state laws. We also try to understand what are the laws of nature, so that our life is in sync with laws of nature and laws of God. And finally, how do we attain eternal happiness? So this is what we discussed in the first 2 sessions. And then in the previous session, second session, we discussed whether God exists or not. And first 2 points we discussed. How do we figure out presence of someone who is managing this entire show through our observations, very practical observations in our day-to-day life. Second, we also discussed about views of great scientists, what they have to say about the existence of the Supreme Lord. And the third one is what we're going to discuss today. How do we objectively find out who is the person? So there's no doubt. So we saw through various examples in the previous session that the universe has some order. It is not random, isn't it? It is not random. There is some order. There is some order in the way different planets are positioned. There is some order in the way different seasons are positioned. There is some order in terms of what time sun arises, what time sun sets. There is some order when rains arrive. when winter arrives, when summer arrives, isn't it? Nothing is random in this material world. Everything is in perfect order, right? Like somebody has actually designed it, created it. Okay, then, sorry. And then we also saw how there's a full harmony. Everything in this material world is harmonious with each other. There's a link between different aspects of this material nature. There's a perfect harmony, like you have harmony in orchestra, isn't it? And there's a person who is guiding everyone, and everybody is playing his instruments to the tune of, to the direction of this person who is guiding. Similarly, everything in this material world is being guided, you know, through somebody in terms of some directions. And finally, everything is very precise. Right? We saw Earth is moving around the sun in a fixed orbit. Yeah. There is a law of gravity which is holding everything in its place. If sun moves or Earth moves even an inch towards the sun will be burned to ashes. You can imagine the kind of precision which is there in every element of this material world. Perfect. Everything is perfect, precise, and harmonious. If law of gravity fails for a second, everything will be, in chaos. Like we discussed previously, if traffic light does not work in Bombay for 5 minutes, what can happen? There'll be chaos, right? Similarly, if law of gravity fails to work even for a second, even for a part of a second, everything will be chaotic. But that never happens. Everything is very precisely positioned, precisely made. Yeah. And finally, we said, like anything we manufacture has certain purpose to achieve. Similarly, this universe, material universe, also has certain purpose to achieve, which you're going to discover very soon. It is not purposeless. It has certain very specific purpose. Briefly, we'll touch upon that, hopefully today. Yeah. So we finally concluded that there is some mastermind, some supreme power, which does exist, which manages the entire show. It is not, happening randomly or automatically, like Big Bang Theory. Everything came from nothing. Yeah. So there is somebody who is supremely intelligent, beyond our imagination, his level of intelligence. Yeah. So we'll discover that person today. And then we saw this verse from Bhagavad Gita in which Krishna says, the unseen is proven by the seen. Mataha paratanam nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Mai sarvam idam protam. There is no one supreme to me and everything rests upon me. As pearls are strung on a necklace. Like in a necklace, you can see only pearls. You can't see the thread which is binding all these pearls together. But looking at the pearls, you can figure out there's something else underneath in the form of thread. Similarly, looking at different planets, looking at different laws, looking at different creations in this material world, we can figure out there's somebody which is not seen but does exist. Okay, like thread exists which binds all the pearls together. Very good example. Krishna is quoted in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. And we also saw the definition of God means one who is the cause of all causes. Sarva Karan Karanam. Everything happens, and the final cause is Supreme Lord. Yeah. Supreme controller. Nothing moves even an inch unless it is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord. बोलते हैं ना घास का तिनका हिलता नहीं है if there is no permission. भगवान की इच्छा से नहीं हिल सकता है. So he is the supreme controller, he is the supreme proprietor, and finally the supreme enjoyer. Okay. This is precisely how a God is defined as. And then we saw, we do agree now that somebody exists, but how do we know who is that God objectively? That is the next question. Very natural question. How do you figure out objectively, not subjectively, not based on individual perceptions, but based on objectivity, who is that person? This is what we're going to discuss today. What are the different ways to acquire knowledge? Which is the best mode of acquiring knowledge? And through that knowledge, what is getting revealed in terms of the truth? So before that, I have a small, exercise for all of you. So what I said was, session 3 will talk about how do we access this truth precisely, very objectively, so that there is no doubt, around the subject. Before that, we'll have a simple exercise. Yeah. You list down different shortcomings of the material knowledge we acquire in our schools and colleges. All of us have gone to schools, colleges, or are studying in schools and colleges. Please think around for a couple of minutes and find out, list down what are the problems with this knowledge in your own judgment, in your perception. Yeah. What are the characteristics of this material knowledge which we acquire from our schools, colleges, universities? You have a couple of minutes. You can start writing in the chat box quickly. You can also say, I don't find any problem with the material knowledge. That can also be one of the view. Applicability of his implementation of personal life. Okay. What else? Or all of you believe that it is perfect. There is no problem with the material knowledge. There is no shortcoming at all. No precise purpose for anyone specific. It is blanket treatment for all. Very good. It doesn't define any specific purpose of life. Thank you. What else? Yeah. Material school teaching concerned with career, not with character. Very nice. Wonderful. So there's a lot of emphasis on how to make money, but not how to make values, build values. It teaches only, just hold on, gradually. Doesn't find any use in practical life, lack in human values and empathy, ambitious competition, very good. Never any books, they talk about soul, very nice. Theory is entire different from practical life, yes. Okay, you can write in the chat box. What else? Lack of inquiry and inquisitiveness, wonderful, very nice. It creates expectations. They don't teach culture. Okay. Spiritual life is completely missing. It is perishable. Yes, wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. So there is a problem with material knowledge. While I am also engineering graduate and MBA, but after reading Bhagavad Gita, I realized what is the problem. Before that, I never knew. You see, in our schools, colleges, the syllabus keeps changing. Yes or no? What I studied during my childhood, let's say in 5th standard, 6th standard, everything has changed now. Everything has changed. Syllabus is no more same. Why? If the knowledge is perfect, knowledge is absolute, knowledge is complete, why should it change? It means this knowledge, material knowledge, is constantly changing. Isn't it? Looking for what? Looking for perfection. Not perfect. Always looking for perfection. We are always improving our syllabus, our curriculum. What my daughter is studying now, will change after 5 years. And what, children will study after 5 years will change after 10 years. So this knowledge is not complete, it is not perfect, it is changeable. And more than anything else, it does not define what is the purpose of life. It makes one blind. It doesn't define the purpose of life. It defines only purpose of belly. How to eat, how to sleep, how to enjoy sex, life, how to defend. Yeah. This is the problem. So we'll see now in the subsequent slides that based on this kind of knowledge, we can never find about somebody as perfect, as precise, as absolute as God. That's why it is not a subject being taught in our schools, colleges. Through material knowledge, we can never find out who is God. So this subject is missing altogether completely. We saw this real universe is so precise, so perfect, in order, in harmony. But with this imperfect knowledge, how can we find out a perfect person who is managing this perfect universe? Yes or no? Yes or no? What I'm saying, are you convinced? Making sense or not? So this is a big problem with what we study. I'm not saying it is not required. It is required, but it does not serve our higher purpose. It does not help us to fulfill our inquiry, to answer our inquiries. We made so many inquiries in the last few sessions, but it doesn't answer any one of them. It answers only how to eat, how to sleep. Basically, animal propensities, how to do animal propensities little more, sophisticated manner, nothing else. We can become civilized animals. We cannot become civilized human beings with this knowledge. So there are, okay, let me first start with a story and then we'll, try to understand what are different ways to acquire this knowledge. So there was once the 6 blind men who had never any experience of what elephant looks like. I'm sure many of you would have heard about this, but still I'll repeat it to make a specific point. The 6 blind people never experienced what is elephant, who is elephant. They were brought closer to an elephant and made to touch different parts of the body of elephant. Somebody was touching, holding, the body, somebody was holding the trunk, somebody was holding legs, somebody was holding tail. Now, based on their individual perception, they defined how this elephant looks like. Based on that perception, what they developed by touching, holding different parts of the body, they concluded how elephant looks like. For example, a blind man who held the tail of the elephant, he said, elephant is like a rope. Based on his judgment, based on his perception, based on his individual experience. What did he say? Elephant is like a rope. And somebody who touched the body of the elephant, he made a judgment, elephant is like a wall. Yeah. Somebody who was touching the teeth of, elephant, he said it's like an arrow. Somebody said like a snake. So different individuals defined elephant differently based on their individual perception, individual experience. This is how currently people define who God is. You know? Somebody is formless, or is with form, or looks like this. Somebody will say, I am God, to that extent also. Somebody says, this person is God, moon is God, sun is God, he is God, she is God. Without objective understanding. Then a wise man who was not blind, he came, who knew the truth. And then the 6 blind men simply heard from him and realized their individual perception was wrong. And they realized that elephant is not like rope, not like arrow, not like snake, but elephant is a big animal, giant animal. How did they get to know? Simply by hearing from somebody who knew the truth. We listen to what I'm saying very carefully, because I'm going to make a point, very important point in subsequent slides. So they understood about this big giant elephant called, animal called as elephant, by simply hearing from some authorized person. Okay, not based on their individual perception. Yeah. There are 5 knowledge acquiring senses. All of us have these 5 senses through which we acquire knowledge. Jnanendriya, knowledge acquiring senses. Eyes. Through eyes, we can make out what is ugly, what is beautiful, what is good, what is bad in terms of the form. By hearing, we can make out, good sound, bad sound. By taste, we can make out what is palatable, what is not palatable. By touch, we can make out what is soft, what is hard. By smell, we can make out what is good smell, what is bad smell. So through these 5 senses, we acquire some knowledge. In fact, all the knowledge we acquire through these 5 senses. Isn't it? There are 5 knowledge acquiring and 5 working senses. So we are discussing here about 5 jnanendriyas or 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Now, based on these senses, there are 3 ways we acquire any knowledge. 3 ways of gaining knowledge. The first one is called pratyaksha pramana, or knowledge through direct sense perception. प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण. आप बोलते हैं, आपने सुना होगा, सीइंग इज बिलीविंग, है ना? देखेंगे तो विश्वास करेंगे. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं भगवान दिखाइए हमको, कैसे विश्वास करें? तो उनको प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण चाहिए, है ना? लाइक मदर विल टीच स्मॉल चाइल्ड, बेटा सी दैट इज बस, है ना? मदर विल शो बस टू ए चाइल्ड एंड से दिस इज कॉल्ड एज बस. दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रत्यक्ष प्रमाण, थ्रू डायरेक्ट सेंस परसेप्शन. Okay. Second is called Anuman Praman, experimental knowledge. We carry out various experiments in the laboratory and conclude and make some hypothesis and say it's right or wrong. Right. And third one is called Shabda Praman. So we'll discuss about this in detail. What is Pratyaksh Praman, or direct perception? You see this image, we can make out there's a railway track, there's some greenery around it. There are some pebbles lying here and there. Okay. So you gain this knowledge. How? By seeing. But if you see the same image during late evening time, you will not see the same greenery. It look like some gray, things around this track. Track is also not very smooth. So if the situation outside changes, the knowledge I acquire through the same senses also changes. Making sense? Yeah. You look at this. Morning I saw like this, evening I see like this. Is there a difference between the two? Same eyes, but perception is different. Correct? Sometimes you see a small stick inside a glass. it looks like it's bent. Correct? But is it really bent? No. It is not bent, but it looks like it's bent. So there's a problem with the perception, this process of acquiring knowledge. Isn't it? You see mirage on a road. From a distance, you see there's some water on the road. When you go closer, there's no water. The point I am making is this pratyaksha praman or knowledge acquired through senses is not always perfect. Okay, there is a possibility of getting illusion, getting cheated in terms of acquiring correct knowledge. Making sense? You keep giving me confidence so that I can move ahead. Making sense? Yes or no? The direct perception is not the best method to acquire perfect knowledge. Mind you, we're talking about acquiring knowledge about somebody called as God, who is very perfect, who has designed this perfect universe. So through this perception, through this direct sense perception, it is very difficult to find out who is God. Isn't it? Different people will perceive differently. In different circumstances, different times, they'll perceive God as different elements. It's not the best way. Pratyaksh Praman, and this entire material knowledge is a result of Pratyaksh Praman and Anuman Praman. That's why we have problems. Material knowledge is a result of Pratyaksh and Anuman, which I'm going to discuss now. That's why it has problems. It is not perfect. Okay. So we cannot acquire complete knowledge using our material senses like eyes, ears, etc. This is one conclusion. Why we cannot acquire either of the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, whether it is sight, touch, hearing, taste, or smell, any of them cannot give us perfect or complete knowledge. Why? There are defects. There are 4 defects in our senses. Note down. I'm not saying this. Scriptures tell us. And you will realize also in the next few slides, there are 4 defects in these senses. That's why it doesn't help us gain complete knowledge. The first one is imperfect senses. What does it mean? Imperfect senses. We can see only up to a distance. Correct? Even an eagle from the sky far away can see its prey on the ground. Sense is limited. Very good. From a distance it can see, but we can't see. The perfection of our eyes is limited. The capability of my eye is even lesser than the capability of an eagle. Eagle has far more ability to see from a distance than me. So there's a limitness, or the senses are limited, imperfect. Right? Second is senses get illusioned. Like I mentioned, if you see mirage from a distance, it looks like water, but it is not water. You see these wonderful, what do you call, trolleys. If you don't see the wheels, you'll never realize it is actually a trailer. It is a truck. We get illusion. Illusion means what? Considering something as which is not, which it is not. Or considering something real as unreal or unreal as real. It's called illusion. Third one is there is a tendency to commit mistakes. Every human being, by design, there's a tendency to commit errors, to commit mistakes. Yes or no? ये तो हम पढ़ते भी है, human is to error. हर व्यक्ति से गलती होती है, चाहे वो प्रधानमंत्री हो या प्रेसिडेंट हो या सीईओ हो, एमडी हो, कोई भी हो. Everybody is prone to commit mistakes. So any knowledge which I generate as a human being will never be perfect. So all the books I write for my children, curriculum, school books, college books, they're all imperfect. They're not perfect. That's why we keep changing them. We keep revising, syllabus. We keep trying to make them perfect. Why? Because there's always mistakes. Sometimes there's 8 planets, sometimes 9 planets. We don't know. 8 or 9. Yeah. And the fourth one is because there's a tendency to commit mistakes, to hide that everybody has a cheating propensity. Everybody. Everybody tend to cheat. Yeah. So with these 4 defects, if I generate some knowledge, it will never be perfect. Let me repeat. Through these senses which have these 4 defects by design, any knowledge I generate out of my sense perception or out of my experimentation will never be perfect. Will never be perfect enough to give me idea about who is God. God is perfect. No fault. So with imperfect knowledge, I cannot find out about a perfect person called as God. Make sense? Yes or no? Okay, thank you. Okay, imperfect senses, to be illusioned, tendency to commit mistakes, and cheating propensity. I have some more examples, but I'm not going to spend much time, right? For example, the dog has better ability to hear than us. We can hear only between the range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, but dog has, he can hear. He's in my favorite frequency, 50,000 hertz. We can't even go near that. So dog has better ability than us in terms of perception. If you have orange after sugar, it looks like your taste sour. If you have orange after lemon, it looks sweet. Our senses get illusion. Water touched with warm hand appears cool. Water touched with cold hands appear warm. What will you say? Water is warm or cold? Look at these pictures. Somebody will say, somebody is playing guitar. Somebody will say, no, there's an old man and old woman. Through our vision. Yes. So there is a possibility to get illusion. Look at this. They are stationary circles, but they appear moving. Can you see them moving? Yes or no? But they are stationary. It means my eyes are getting illusion. I can't see in front of me what is reality. Actually, our eyes have no ability. If there's no sun, our eyes are like buttons. They can't see anything. Our eyes can see because there is sun. Without sun, we can't see anything. Look at this. They're moving in circle. But they are stationary. Look at this. Looks like there's a big, khadda on the road, but it's not. It's just a painting. So there's a tendency to get illusion. So like this, many things. How do we commit mistakes? In science, we committed many mistakes. There's a constant called the Hubble constant. They said it is constant. It has already changed 3-4 times. So there's no more a constant. Hubble constant become Hubble variable. Yeah. So in science, we commit many mistakes because of these 4 defects with which we experiment. That's why we commit mistakes. Okay, so like this, many examples, so I'm not going to spend much time. And then there's a cheating propensity also. Okay. So this was first way to acquire knowledge, pratyaksh praman, and we concluded because of the defects in our senses, it is very difficult to attain complete knowledge through these senses. Correct? The second one is called Anuman Praman. Anuman, आप जानते हैं क्या होता है? Judgment. अनुमान लगाना. In my opinion, this. In my opinion, this. In my opinion, this. Or through some experimental, knowledge. It may have been like this, or perhaps it was like this. This is how also we acquire, knowledge, right? Just by looking at the sentence, you never believe what he's saying. If you're using the term called maybe like this, perhaps like this, how can you assume that knowledge is complete and perfect? No. Right. For example, this Charles Darwin said chimpanzee is the origin of species. Right? He made anuman. He made some judgment. There's no need to make judgment. Your scriptures tell you what is the origin of. Yeah. Scriptures tell you what is the origin of human beings. You don't have to experiment. You don't have to make what you call judgment around the subject. And he said what, I am a firm believer that without speculation, which means judgment, there is no good and original observation. After 5 years' work, I allowed myself to speculate on the subject and drew up some short notes. These I enlarged in 1844 into a sketch of the conclusions which seemed to me probable. So with this probability, we can never be confident that this knowledge is perfect. We make so many hypotheses when we say it is wrong, it is right, it is wrong, it is right. Somebody said man came from monkeys. Have you heard about this theory? Scientific theory, which proved wrong later on. Also proved wrong. And there's a huge price we pay for these mistakes which are done scientifically. Huge price we pay. For example, we'll discuss later, we invented refrigerator stating that refrigerator will solve all our problems. You can drink cold water, you'll get ice, you can drink milkshake. But what is the outcome of refrigerator? It has created a big hole in the ozone layer. And what is the consequence of that? The temperature of the universe, of the earth, is increasing perpetually. A huge cost. To get cold water, we have increased the temperature of the earth only. Mobile phone, everybody loves it. Mobile was supposed to be an instrument to solve communication problem, right? It has become a communication barrier. People don't talk. WhatsApp only. Isn't it? You see in a restaurant, people sitting around the table, as a family, they've gone to eat together, but everybody is busy with the mobile. They don't even talk while sitting on the same table. Yes or no? So it is a communication enabler or communication barrier. Looking at WhatsApp messages, there's so many confusion because there is no emotion behind that message. You only see words. So based on, we think that this product will give us this advantage, but we fail to see what are the disadvantages it will bring along with it. So this is a problem with Anuman Praman. It is never perfect. A Bisleri bottle, a convenient substitute for a glass bottle, but water stored in Bisleri bottle for 6 months turns poisonous. You know this? You keep the water for 6 months, then after that, not drinking water, you're drinking poison. So because of experimentation, because of direct sense perception, this knowledge is not complete, and we tend to commit very big mistakes and pay a huge price later on. Right? We discuss about mobile, refrigerator. We discuss about the global warming is because of these, things like air conditioner and refrigerators. So we invented them without realizing the consequence. Why? Incomplete knowledge, not complete knowledge. Yeah. One research claimed that the cats were the cause of a plague, so that they killed all the cats. There was a plague during 1353, around that time, many centuries back. And they thought, experimentally, they assumed the root cause of this plague is cat. So they killed all the cats. And after some time, they realized it was not cat, it was rat. Now there are no cats to kill rats. So any incomplete knowledge or half knowledge is very dangerous, because we use it without realizing what are the consequences of that knowledge. Yeah. This is where material knowledge fails miserably. Yeah. It is an exercise in case you want to do. Maybe you can also give some example how modern man's solution to one problem leads to another bigger problem and ultimately deprives us of happiness. Can you think of such examples? Similar examples. It solved one little problem but created a bigger problem. Yeah. Anyone? Nuclear families, very good, wonderful. See, saving one person is so difficult in a hospital, but we have invented something which can kill people in masses. Globalization, very good. Mobile, very good. X-ray, yes. Automobile pollution, perfect. Thank you. What else? Plastic, yes. Nuclear energy, wonderful. What else? What else? Some more examples. Gadgets, yes. Microwave, yes. So, it's not that intention of these scientists who are inventing these things. There's a problem. They all are working hard with right intention. The intention is not wrong, but the outcome is wrong. Why? It is not based on perfect knowledge. There was one person, listen to this, industrialization, very good. There was one person who had a monkey with him, trained monkey. And he was going through a jungle with his monkey. Listen carefully. Right? On the way, he felt sleepy. This man who had a monkey. He felt sleepy. He lied down under a tree and went to sleep. And told his monkey, gave monkey one fan. पंखा करने के लिए बोला. किस लिए? कोई मक्खी मच्छर नहीं आए. He can sleep peacefully. This man is sleeping and his trained monkey is पंखा कर रहा है. Okay. So this monkey saw one bee sitting on the nose of this his master, that man. A bee is sitting on the nose of this man, and this monkey is trying hard to remove by using his fan, but it's not going. It goes off, again comes back, goes, again comes back. Okay. So this monkey is thinking, how do I solve this problem? Like, our scientists think, how do I solve the problem of heat, cold? So he's also thinking, how do I solve this problem that this this bee does not come again and sits on the nose of this man, my master. Then he looks around and he saw that his master had one knife. He took out the knife of the master or a sword, whatever. He took out the sword, man is sleeping. He said, I'll kill this bee so that na rahega baas, na bajegi bansuri. Let me kill this bee, altogether so that there's no disturbance to my master. So bee is sitting on the nose and this monkey is trying to kill this bee through the sword. You can imagine what will happen. Intention of this monkey is not wrong. Intention of this monkey is to give service to his master, to give comfort to his master, but he's acting on half knowledge. He's acting on half knowledge that this sword will kill this bee and my master can sleep very comfortably. But he doesn't have complete knowledge. So he tries to kill the bee. He will never be there. Bee went off, flew off. What he did eventually, he cut off the nose of his master. Right? Just because he acted with half knowledge, incomplete knowledge. Isn't it? So we don't understand if I, release ozone gas, what is the impact of ozone gas on the hemisphere, on the ozone layer? We can't, find out the impact. So without identifying the impact, we go and implement a solution. Like this monkey implement the solution. Without realizing what will happen. Under the bee is my master sleeping, is the nose of a master. So incomplete knowledge is very dangerous and we'll never get absolute knowledge, through direct sense perception or through, Anuman, Praman or experimental knowledge. Yeah. So we all thought, by keeping God aside, so this modern society thinks that without God we can be happy. If I have some more gadgets around me, if I have laptop, if I have mobile phone, if I have big LCD, if I have big car, big house, I can live a very comfortable and peaceful life. This is a perception with which this entire human society is working. Yes or no? But they are grossly wrong. They are acting on half knowledge, like monkey. They don't understand law of karma. And then suffer miserably. So with these two methods of acquiring knowledge, whether pratyaksh or anuman, we can never acquire complete knowledge, and hence any action based on this knowledge will prove to be dangerous. Yeah. It's dangerous to operate a machine with half knowledge. Similarly, it is dangerous to manipulate the universal cosmic machine without knowing about it from the creator who created it. Similarly, like example is given, if you have a machine and you don't know full about this machine, you try to operate it, you'll end up creating a problem. Similarly, having incomplete knowledge about this universe or the man who is created it, who is maintaining it, half knowledge will always put us in miserable conditions. So we cannot afford to miss this knowledge about universe and the person who is managing this universe. If we want to stay in the universe peacefully, we cannot afford to ignore it. Isn't it? Like you buy some new gadget which has been invented for the first time, and you try to use it without referring to the manual, you'll end up screwing it up, messing it up. Isn't it? So you need to understand about the gadget, about the manufacturer, and then use it, following the instructions given in the manual. Similarly, we need to know through some manual what is this universe, who is managing, how is managing it, what are the laws of the universe. Then we act with complete knowledge. Then we will be peaceful. Half knowledge is very dangerous. So we need a method which gives us 100% accurate knowledge, complete knowledge. Then only our actions will be actions will not lead to misery, which is the case today. Are you with me so far before we move ahead? Okay. So where is the manual that can explain operation of this cosmic machine? If we get it, then we have the key to happiness. Okay. So if we understand about this universe completely, without iota of doubt, if we understand about the creator completely, then we can stay in this product called as universe peacefully, happily. Otherwise, no chance. So this subject matter of knowing God or knowing universe is not a choice. It is a necessity, right? It is not a choice. Everybody is looking for happiness, everybody looking for peace, but he will never attain it, never get it, unless he has this understanding of this product called as universe, in which he is operating every day, every moment. So while we have made so much of advancement, so much of money around us, so much of facilities around us, so many gadgets around us, so many luxuries around us, but still every day we are stressed out. Every day we have something or other disturbing us, so much of depression around us, so many different new kinds of diseases around us. So this is not, so we have somewhere lost the way, in terms of we're finding happiness on a path which is not leading us to the destination. So we need something different, which is being made available. So 4 defects which keep us in illusion. We have imperfect senses, which leads to illusion. Due to illusion, we commit mistakes, and due to mistakes, to hide those mistakes, there's a tendency to cheat. Okay. So with these 4 defects in place, we cannot find happiness. So is there another way other than Pratyaksh and Anuman to know the complete truth that is free from danger? So we need to have a solution or a method to acquire knowledge in which there is no possibility of error. We need that method. Okay, and that is called as Shabda Praman. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? Shabda Praman, or it is also called as Shruti Praman. Like those 6 blind men heard from an authority how elephant looks like, and they realize the knowledge without error simply by hearing it. In Gita, Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam raj rishiyo vidu. So this knowledge comes through parampara, through disciplic succession. One gave to another, another gave to another, another gave to another. This is how this knowledge is getting passed from one generation to another generation, through hearing process. That's why it's called as Shabda Praman. The first one was direct sense perception or Pratyaksh Praman based on senses. Second was what you call Anuman Praman based on experiment. And third one is simply hearing from authority. Simply hearing from authority. What is the truth? For example, if a child has to find out who is his father, how will he find out? How will he find out? Through Pratyaksh Praman, can he find out? By looking at different, male members in the society, in Udaipur, in Rajasthan. Can he find out who is his father through Pratyaksh Praman? By just looking at the faces, he cannot find out. Through experimentation, can he find out? Can he find out? No, he cannot find out. Yeah. He cannot find out neither through Pratyaksh nor through Anuman Praman. If he has to do DNA test, how many male members he will do DNA test to find out who is his father? कितने लोग DNA test कराएगा? नहीं. All of you are right. The only solution is this child has to simply ask the mother, who is my father? And hear from mother and find out who is his father. His job is done. No research required. Making an inquiry from the authority and hearing it will simply solve all the problems. Most reliable, no possibility of error. This is called Shabd Praman. Okay. So we discussed through medical tests, you cannot find out. Okay. Just ask your mother and know who your father is. Correct? Simple. Most reliable. Similarly, all these Vedas, all the scriptures, they are like our mother. They can tell us who the Father is, who the Supreme Father is. What we cannot find out through sense perception, what we cannot find out through experimentation, we can easily ask this mother called as Vedas and check who our Father is. And this Vedas will tell you that Supreme Lord is your Supreme Father. Vedas have every knowledge which we can think of. Every knowledge. This knowledge from Vedas is called Apurushaya. Apurushaya means it is not something which has been manufactured by human beings. It has straight away come from the God or the perfect person. That's why it is perfect. Vedas come from God himself. That's why these Vedas are perfect. And they're also called as axiomatic truth. Means to prove what is written in Vedas, you don't require any other evidence. Vedas, it comes from root word called vit. Vit means knowledge. Okay. And knowledge means spiritual knowledge, not material knowledge. Right? Which gives us address about name of the God and also address of the God. Where does he reside? All the information about the Supreme Person we can find out through these Vedic literature. Okay. Like we go to different colleges which are authorized, this parampara or the disciplic succession which we mentioned, it is like authorized university through which this knowledge is coming. Okay. And who are the professors in this university? Different spiritual masters in the parampara are the professors. I'm just trying to do analogies so you can understand. And what are the authorized books? Vedic literature like Gita and Bhagavatam are the authorized scriptures through which we can get this complete knowledge. Right? It is the same 700 verses which Krishna spoke 5,000 years back, which we read today. Why it has not changed over a period of 5,000 years? Why? Because it is perfect. It doesn't require any change. It has tested, time immemorial. It is valid. It was valid 5,000 years back. It is valid today. It will be valid even after 5,000 years. Not 5,000, 5 lakh years also it will be valid. These verses are universally applicable, will never change. Why? It is complete, perfect knowledge coming from perfect person. Okay. On the contrary, material knowledge is changing very frequently. Why? It is a result of our direct sense perception or experimental knowledge through imperfect senses, and hence it is incomplete. Will always be changing. Okay. So the most reliable knowledge, which can be trusted with 100% confidence, without an iota of doubt, is this Vedic literature, Gita and Bhagavatam. No need for any speculation. Simply ask this mother and find out answers to all the problems. No need for any speculation, no experimentation. Okay. First time this knowledge was given by Vishnu or Krishna to Lord Brahma. It is the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Tene Brahma Hridaya Yaadi Kavve, which means this Vedic knowledge was revealed by the Supreme Person within the heart of first created being called as Brahma. Brahma is the first person who was created in this universe. He was given this knowledge and it is coming from Brahma down the line through disciplic succession, through parampara. This is real, knowledge or the spiritual knowledge. It is not given by a normal human being. Very important, note this. It is given by the Supreme Lord who is perfect in all respects. He has given this knowledge and hence this is perfect. Not doesn't require any change. No modification required after 5 years, 10 years. Okay. The Vedic wisdom came down in disciplic succession through a chain of gurus from beginning of creation. This knowledge came when creation happened. Like product is manufactured, manual is printed at the same time by the manufacturer. Similarly, this knowledge got into existence at the same time this product called as universe was created, was manufactured, and is coming through disciplic succession, through chain of gurus or acharyas or spiritual masters to all of us. Okay. Without any alteration. That's why it is parampara. If there's an alteration, if somebody is adding something or deleting something, then the essence of parampara is lost. As it is communicated to the next generation. As it is. Okay. Okay. And 5,000 years ago, Vyasdev, who is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord himself, wrote it down for all of us. Two important scriptures appeared just before Kali Yuga started. Vyasdev wrote it down for all of us because he knew in Kali Yuga people will not be able to remember for a long time. Before that, people simply used to hear and remember. There was no need to write it down. He wrote it down only for people like us. So we can refer it again and again. So it was scripted, it was written down by Vyasdev 5,000 years back, just before the advent of Kali Yuga. Okay. So there are so many, Vedic literature, Shruti, Smriti, so I'll not talk about it. As I mentioned, for us, two important scriptures are important, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which I'll discuss more in detail on the last day when we talk about practical spirituality. So today we discuss 6 blind men and 1 wise man, just to make a point that senses have limitation to acquire knowledge. 3 ways to acquire knowledge: Pratyaksh Praman, Anuman Praman, and finally Shabd Praman. And the most reliable source of information is Shabd Praman. Why? Because in Pratyaksh Praman, an experimental knowledge, we require to use our senses, which have 4 defects by design. So we can't rely. It can't give us complete knowledge. Okay. And Vedas offer perfect and complete information, knowledge about who the Supreme Lord is. Okay. So we'll try to find out, according to Gita Bhagavatam, who is that Supreme Person, right? Who is actually controlling everything, who is managing this entire show through different agencies, through different, like Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers. So he has many ministers who are managing the affairs of this universe. Okay. This knowledge reveals right in the beginning in terms of what is our real identity. We were talking about identity crisis, right, which is not being taught in material knowledge. Bhagavad Gita talks about this right in the 2nd chapter. What is our real identity? Vansansi jinnani yatha vihare. You are the soul, your body is just like a shirt, just as your shirt, just as you change your shirt when you get old, when it gets old, torn and useless, similarly the soul changes body after death and enters another body. So Bhagavad Gita establishes this fact that there is some life beyond this life. Life does not come to an end with the end of this body. Dehino asmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara तथा देहांतर प्राप्ति. देहांत के बाद कुछ और प्राप्त होता है. Another body one receives. This fact is established only in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so I'm not discussing more on this. Next session we'll talk about the subject called as soul. Okay, more in detail. So we'll get to know what is our real identity through the pages of these scriptures, Gita and Bhagavatam. Okay, then also it says in 15th verse of 8th chapter, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of misery. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Ma upetaya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam. So the designation of this material world Krishna is giving is what? Dukhalayam. This place is a place of misery. No one can be happy in this material world. I asked this question to all of you in the previous session. Tell me any one of you who never got deceased, or who is sure he'll never get old, who will never die. Everybody, by exception, has to go through these miseries. Ashashvatam means temporary. This word is a temporary. All the joys of this material world are temporary. Everything around us is temporary. What makes it temporary? Kala. Time makes it temporary. Right? Then he says, Samasiddhim Paramam Angata, which means after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return from where? So there's another place which is beyond this material world, which does not have these miseries. So it answers this query. Remember, we asked this query, why am I suffering? From where I came, where will I go? So it tells you the characteristics of this place where we stay. It also tells you there is another place called as spiritual world in which such miseries do not exist. And once you go there, you will never come back again. Okay. So all the inquiries we were making in the first session, all will be answered with perfection, without any iota of doubt or fault through these scriptures. Right. That's why they are, what do you call, perfect and complete knowledge, and also defines what is the purpose of this material world and what is the purpose of this human body. Yeah. So like, one analogy to define the purpose of this human body. For example, if there's a car given by a company and this human body is given by God. Let's try to draw some parallels between the two. Okay. There's a driver in the car. Similarly, there is a soul or Atma, which is the real us in this body. Our identity is not of this body. Our identity is of the driver sitting inside this body, which is called Dehi, or the soul or the Atma. Everybody has this identity crisis, treating this body as me. This body is not me. There's a person sitting inside this body called a soul or Atma. He is a real driver of this body. Body doesn't move automatically. If the soul comes out, body is dead. So our real identity is not what is visible externally, but which is existing internally. Okay. So like car is maintained by cleaning, putting petrol. Similarly, this body is maintained by bathing and putting food. So these are essentials to maintain this body. Okay, I'll go a little slow. So when something happens to the car, we take it to the garage to repair. Similarly, something happens to the body, You go to doctor to get those diseases treated, to get those disorders treated. Correct? So what is the purpose of a car? Is to go to the company. And purpose of this body is to go out of this material world, which is dukhalayam, full of miseries, janam, mrityu, jara, vyadi, to return back home, back to Godhead in the spiritual world, which is called Vaikuntha, where there are no miseries. This is the purpose of this body. Like the purpose of this car is to go to company, the purpose of this body is to go to the spiritual world. Purpose of this body is not to eat, sleep. Purpose of this body is to utilize it for elevating our consciousness so that it can move from this material world to spiritual world. That is the purpose. How many people know about this purpose? Yeah. Car is given by company for some official purpose. If I use it to roam around along with my girlfriend or my family, I'm misusing this car, correct? Similarly, if I'm using this body, which is meant for a certain spiritual purpose, only to make some sense enjoyment, I am misusing this body. Okay? Speeding up the car 100 km per hour is living like a rat race with no goal. Painting, decorating, and beautifying the car and never using it for the job is like decorating the body with cosmetics without using to serve the God of the higher purpose. Yeah. So, like this universe has certain purpose, human body also has certain purpose. But the purpose one gets to know only through spiritual knowledge, not through material knowledge. That is the problem, which is not widely available to everyone. It is only limitedly visible to only a handful of people, only to the fortunate ones who know the purpose and hence using it accordingly, according to the instructions, directions given in these scriptures. Yeah. So the purpose of this example of, many times we use example of cage and a bird inside. The cage is like a body and the bird inside the cage is like soul inside. The whole modern society is simply spending time decorating the cage, but not worrying about the bird inside the cage, not worrying about the soul inside this body. Everybody is worried out only about this body, maintaining this body, beautifying this body, making this body strong, but without even feeding the bird inside, without even feeding the soul inside. That's why this generation is not happy. Right? In the next session, discuss what is the source of happiness. Is this body or the soul sitting inside the body? It is not the body. It is not the body which will give us happiness. It has never given us, it will never give us, unless we change our direction from body to soul. Okay, so we have to actually bring a shift in the way we think, shift in the way we live to attain real happiness. Not by decorating the body, but feeding the soul inside the body. Not by decorating the cage, which is this body, but by feeding the soul or the bird sitting inside this cage. Okay. So there's a story, but I don't have time to talk about it. How educated Indians, but this was not the case what we have today, a few thousand years back. You know the meaning of Bharat? Bharat means Bha plus Rat. Bha comes from Bhaskar. Bhaskar means Surya or sun, and sun means Prakash, and Prakash means knowledge. So Bha actually means knowledge. And knowledge is complete when it is spiritual, not material. So Bha means spiritual knowledge, and Rat means completely engrossed in. So one who is completely engrossed in spiritual knowledge is called as Bharatiya. The one who understands scriptures like Gita and Bhagavatam, only he is qualified to be called as Indian or Bharatiya, not everybody else. So earlier, everybody used to read the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Like newspaper we read every day. But, somebody came and destroyed this tradition of our education system. Please listen to this carefully. Can you hear?
Of Vedic culture. Therefore, they
Audible?
widely propagated that the Vedas were simply mythology. Max Mueller, perhaps the most well-known early Sanskritist and Indologist, although later in life he glorified the Vedas, initially wrote that the Vedas were worse than savage, and India must be conquered again by education. Its religion is doomed. Thomas Macaulay, who introduced English education into India, wanted to make the residents into a race that was Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinion, in morals, and in intellect. However, the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer stated that the Sanskrit understanding of these Indologists was like that of young schoolboys. These early Indologists devised the Aryan invasion theory, denying India's Vedic past. They taught that the English educational system is superior. They intentionally misinterpreted Sanskrit texts to make the Vedas look primitive. And they systematically tried to make Indians ashamed of their own culture. Thus, the actions of these Indologists seems to indicate that they were motivated by a racial bias.
So now you know how this systematically our Indian Vedic culture was destroyed. Yeah, how this entire Gurukul system was replaced by modern so-called co-ed, English medium schools, wherein we stopped, teaching the subjects like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad, the Vedic literature. Yeah. If you read Gita and Bhagavatam, you'll be surprised. You see, some indefeasible Vedic predictions given in our scriptures. Appearance of Jesus Christ is mentioned in Atharva Veda. Appearance of Gautam Buddha is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Appearance of Prophet Muhammad is mentioned in Bhavishya Puran. Appearance of Chanakya is mentioned in Bhagavatam. Appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioned in Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, many other scriptures. So it has wonderful predictions given well in time. What is going to happen in the future? Okay. There are many truths which are already mentioned. For example, embryology, this radiology to see what happened inside the womb of mother was discovered maybe 200, 300 years back. Before that, we didn't know what happened inside the stomach of the mother, womb of mother. But Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, talks about what exactly happens inside the womb of mother. What happens on first day, what happens on 7th day, what happens on 11th day, what happens on 21st day, what happens after 3 months, what happens after 7 months, when does the body get the consciousness? Everything is mentioned in detail. This is not even known to our, science. There is no knowledge which is not there in Vedic scriptures. Plants have life. Cow dung is the most purest. Cow products are the most purest. Vastu Shastra, organic farming, Indian metallurgy, astrology, art, everything is available. But we're not making it available to our generation. That's the problem. And this is complete without iota of error. No fault in this knowledge. 100% perfect. No side effect. And how this knowledge is transferred? According to our scriptures, there are 4 bona fide universities called as sampradayas or parampara, through which this knowledge comes. They're bona fide because mentioned in the scriptures. One is called Sri Sampradaya, which comes from Mother Lakshmi. Second is called Brahma Sampradaya, which comes from Brahma. Third is called Rudra Sampradaya, which comes from Lord Shiva. He is the director of the university. And fourth is called Kumar Sampradaya. Start from 4 Kumaras. These 4 are bona fide Pramanic. Why? Mentioned in our scriptures. And the 4 respective acharyas who propagated this knowledge. So any source of knowledge other than these 4 universities is not bona fide. Cannot be fully trusted. Why? Not revealed in the scriptures. Yeah. So who is God? Now, through these scriptures, let's see who is revealed as God. One person. God cannot be many. Remember, God can be only one person. One Son for the entire universe, one God for all the universes. Right? Now we'll see objectively, without any personal perception, personal judgment, we'll see who is God. I am also going to refer to many verses from Gita and Bhagavatam to, reveal this truth. While many of you know it, but we'll see it more objectively. Okay. Brahma says in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karan Karanam. So we read one of the definition of Supreme Lord is cause of all causes. Sarva Karan Karanam, Sab Karano Ke Karan. And Brahma Ji is establishing who is the Supreme Lord. It is Paramaha Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir means he is the oldest. He is the origin, the first entity from whom everything started. He himself does not have any cause. He is the cause of all causes, but he does not have any cause. So this is in the prayers of Brahma Ji in Brahma Samhita. Then comes Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am the source of all spiritual and material words. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. To wise who perfectly know this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Okay. So Krishna is saying, I am the source of material and spiritual, both the words. On the right hand side, you can see, this is called Golok chart. At the bottom is material word, that circle. In the middle, spiritual word. On the top, spiritual word. Okay, so I'll not discuss much in detail. We'll see on the last day about this, more detail about this. Okay, so what is the source of everything? It is Krishna. Then, in Kurukshetra, during the battle, Arjuna wanted to see universal form of Krishna. Okay, universal form. In that universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna, Arjuna could see all the demigods inside the universal form. Arjuna could see everything in the universal form. Yeah. Establishing the last verse, which we read, that Krishna is the source of everything. This is how Krishna showed universal form to Krishna, Arjuna. Arjuna could see everything inside the body of Krishna. Then, who wrote this Bhagavad Gita? Lord Ganesha himself. Vyasadeva ji recited all the scripture and Ganesha wrote. Lord Ganesha wrote himself. in which Krishna is making a point, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, I am the source of all the universes, all the creations. When Vyasdev wanted to write all the scriptures, he wanted somebody who's very intelligent. And he found Ganesha to be the most intelligent. He called Lord Ganesha and requested him to write. Ganesha made a condition. What condition he made? He said, I will write, but you have to stop, you have to speak all the verses without any break. Non-stop you have to speak. I'll keep writing. Vyasadeva also then made a condition that you have to write everything after understanding every verse completely. Then you write. So Ganesha wrote all the scriptures, all the Shastras, and Vyasadeva recited. Okay, so these are, you can say, the words of Lord Ganesha also, what I'm going to say. So he is fully convinced with what is being written in Gita and Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, when Dhritarashtra speaks, Ganesh writes Dhritarashtra Uvacha, means Dhritarashtra said. When Sanjaya speaks, he said Sanjaya Uvacha, Sanjaya said. When Arjuna speaks, he says Arjuna Uvacha. But when Krishna speaks, Lord Ganesha says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. You read Bhagavad Gita. When Krishna speaks, he says what? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. When Arjuna speaks, he says Arjuna Uvacha. Why? He is fully convinced, Ganesha is fully convinced that who is the Supreme Lord who is managing this entire universe? It is Krishna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Okay. Krishna says in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on the thread. This verse we did previously also. Okay. And what does Lord Shiva say about position of Krishna? He says to Parvati, Mukti Padata Sarvesham Vishnu Evan Samshaya. Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the giver of liberation to all living entities. Of this there should not be any doubt. So this is the position of Lord Shiva. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Shiva says, any person who is surrendered to Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as living entity, is actually very dear to me. So one who is devoted to Krishna is very dear to Lord Shiva. Because they all understand the position of Krishna, but we don't understand. Yeah. What does Mother Durga say? Or Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya adakshena prakriti suyate sachara acharam. This material nature or Durga, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. It looks like Mother Durga is doing everything, but under whose direction? Krishna. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings, under his rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So Mother Durga operates under the direction of Lord Shri Krishna, revealed in Bhagavad Gita. And finally, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who knows this transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, take this birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So simply by knowing who Krishna is, one can be delivered. Most people do not have any understanding of who Krishna is. They know Krishna as, oh, he born as a child in Mathura, Vrindavan, and he did some pastime. Nothing. People don't understand Krishna's position as Supreme Lord, Supreme Controller, Supreme Proprietor, Supreme Enjoyer. And I am not saying this. All the scriptures are saying this. And we simply follow scriptures. Why? It is axiomatic truth. It doesn't require any evidence. We can simply believe this. And the question comes, then what is the difference between Krishna and so many other demigods? Because many people treat other demigods as Supreme Lord. And Gita, Bhagavatam, other scriptures saying Krishna is Supreme Lord. So what's the difference between the two? Okay, I'll take 10 minutes to explain this and then we'll close. Okay. What is the constitutional position of Krishna and many other 33 crores demigods? Okay. Okay, this I'll explain later. Okay. Demigods are many. God is one. First difference. There are many demigods. Every part of our body is controlled by a demigod. Every action in the universe is controlled by demigod. Rain, heat, water. But there is one supreme controller and many controllers. Many Ishwaras, one Parameshwar. Many lords, one supreme lord. Okay. Second, all the demigods are part and parcel of the supreme whole. Like my body has different parts. Hand is a part, eyes are a part, ears are a part. Similarly, demigods are different limbs of one body called as Supreme Lord. They are part and parcel. Third, all demigods worship God as obedient servants. And God is supremely worshipable. All demigods are created by Supreme. But for Supreme, there is no creator. He is the creator. He creates different demigods for different positions, for different universal affairs. Then, demigods exist in this material world, while God exists in spiritual world. So let me go back and explain now. This is at the bottom you see material world. We'll zoom it and understand what exactly lies in this. And on the top you have spiritual world. If I zoom in this material world, it looks like this. There are 14 planetary systems. Bottom one is Patal Lok and the top one is Satya Lok. In the middle is Bhur Lok, where we stay, which is called Earth. All this is material world, mind you. In the middle, we stay, which is called as Bhur Loka or Earth. On the top is Satya Loka, where Brahma stays, and the bottom is Patal Loka. In between Bhur Lok and Satya Loka, there is something called as Swarg Loka or Indra Loka, where all demigods stay. So demigods also stay in the material world, not in spiritual world. Only God stays in spiritual world. Okay. Then all demigods are delegated with various grades of power to manage affairs of the universe. Like Prime Minister delegates various authorities, powers to different cabinet ministers. One is Finance Minister, one is HR Minister, one is Education Minister, one is Agriculture Minister. Similarly, there are many cabinet ministers, many demigods controlled by one supreme God. Okay, one Prime Minister, many ministers. Then, most important one is all demigods also have these material bodies like we have. They are also subject to Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, old age, disease and death. But Supreme Lord has no material body, only spiritual body. So he doesn't undergo Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. No birth, no old age, no disease, no death. But demigods go through this cycle. Why? They also have material bodies. then this material nature is controlled by three modes: Rajaguna, Tamoguna, and Sattva. Like a puppet is controlled by three ropes, correct? So all of us are also controlled by three modes called as Rajaguna, Tapoguna, Sattva. So demigods are under the influence of three gunas, but God is not under the influence of these three gunas. He is not controlled, he is the controller. He controls, not controlled. And last, the most important one is, why it is not come here. Yes, all demigods have this temporary pose. For example, Brahma, sorry. So what I was saying, this Brahma is a position, is not a person. So many persons come and occupy this position of Brahma and go. Okay? Brahma, Indra, they are all positions, not persons. Many, and one of you also can occupy this position if you follow the process. Okay? But God is eternally the same Supreme Lord. He does not change. So many people come and go on various demigods' positions, but the position of God is eternally same. It does not change. Okay. Yes. So who worships demigods and who worships Supreme Lord? People who have material desires. They want something in return. They want money. They want position. They want, other various material positions. They normally approach demigods. Yeah. But person who has no material desire, he approaches Supreme Lord. His motivation is different. Right? Demigod will give you what you want. But Supreme Lord will give you what you need. There's a difference. Like, difference between a shopkeeper and a father. Yeah. I'm not sure it's visible. It's visible, yeah. So like, a child goes to a shop, gives a 5 rupee note, 10 rupee note, and asks for a cigarette. The shopkeeper will not mind giving him a cigarette, correct? So he's getting the money and he's giving the product in place of the money. This is a relationship between person and a demigod. If you pay the price, which is mentioned in scriptures through some yajna, they are bound to give you. Whether it is good for you or not good for you, it is not their, it is not their thought process. But the same child goes to his father's shop and gives a 10 rupee note and tells, Papa, I need a cigarette. Father will never give cigarette, isn't it? Father will give him one slap. Why? Because he cares for him. He will give him what is needed by this child, not what he wants. Similarly, demigods will give you what you want, maybe good for you, maybe bad for you. Because you're paying some price in the form of some yajna mentioned in scriptures. But the Supreme Lord will give you something which you need, not what you want. A big difference between demigod worship and God worship. Okay. The results which you obtain from worship of demigods are temporary and material. And the result which one obtains with the worship of God is permanent, eternal. This is the difference. Demigods cannot release one from this material world. It is only the Supreme Lord who can release one from this material world. He only has the discretion to release, nobody else. So we should know whom to approach. Now, then how do we make the demigods happy who are giving us so many things? Shastras say, worshipping Krishna is like watering the root. If you water the root of a tree, all the leaves, all the fruits, all the flowers are nourished. Similarly, if you worship Krishna, all the demigods are also satisfied. If you worship Lord Ram, Hanuman is happy. He need not be made happy separately, individually. If you make Krishna happy, all the demigods will naturally become happy. So worshipping Krishna, or surrendering to Krishna, is like watering the root of a tree, and worshipping demigods is like watering the leaves, fruits and flowers individually, which is not very, not a reflection of intelligence. Yatha tarur moola nishechanena tripiyanti taskanda. By giving water to the root of the tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves, and by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and other living entities. This is the formula. How can we satisfy 33 crores demigods? Practically impossible. Not possible. But if you satisfy one person, the Supreme Lord, who is a controller, who is a master, then everybody is satisfied. This is a formula suggested by Bhagavatam, not me. I am simply repeating what I hear or read on the pages of the scriptures. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigod go to planets of demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So demigods stay in material world. If any demigod is happy with your worship, at the most you can go to his planet, which is also material. But Krishna is saying, one who worships me will ultimately reach my supreme planet, eternal planet, not temporary. Krishna is asking to surrender unto him, and then he is promising, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Sarvadharman pritya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshashyami. He said, don't worry, simply surrender and I'll release you of all sinful reactions. Assurance given in Bhagavad Gita. Then one can possibly get out of this jail or material world and go to spiritual world. This is about God, and the next subject matter is, then who are we? What is our real identity, and in relation to the Supreme Lord? What is our relationship with Supreme Lord, and what is our duty in terms of that relationship? This is subject matter of next session. So, if you have any question, I'm sure you'll have many questions today. You can ask. Yes. Yes, Sumaji, boliye.
I'm thinking about a question, and I was waiting that I will ask it this Sunday. So, भगवान न्यायप्रिय हैं या दयालु हैं?
भाई भगवान क्या?
भगवान न्यायप्रिय हैं या दयालु हैं?
दोनों हैं. दयालु भी हैं और न्याय भी करते हैं.
यदि न्याय करने में उन्हें दंड देना हो तो वो दंड देंगे या दयालु होंगे?
देखिए, जो हमारा नेक्स्ट सब्जेक्ट है वो लॉ ऑफ कर्मा है. ठीक है. लॉ ऑफ कर्मा के हिसाब से जैसा बोओगे वैसा खाओगे. ठीक है. एज यू रीप सो शैल यू, क्या बोलते हैं, एज यू सो सो शैल यू रीप, है ना, ऐसा बोलते हैं. तो जैसे कर्म करेंगे वैसे फल मिलेंगे. ये भगवान का न्याय है. ठीक है जी. जैसे जज न्याय करता है बेस्ड ऑन द काइंड ऑफ कर्मास ही परफॉर्म्स. मान लो जज ने न्याय दे दिया कि तुम्हें उम्र कैद की सजा है. ठीक है जी. अभी वो व्यक्ति जेल में गया, लेकिन वो प्रयास करता है कि मैं अभी गलत काम नहीं करूंगा, and he shows significant improvement in his character. ठीक है? If he is showing significant improvement in his character, jailer एक application लगाता है president को, but this prisoner, though he is imprisoned for whole life, but he is showing a big improvement. He is repenting for his mistakes. President says, okay, release him. ये दया है, न्याय भी है, दया भी है. So while we are destined to suffer for many lifetimes based on our karmic reactions, based on, judiciary process, nyaya, but if we surrender to Krishna and promise him, and show changes in our behavior, in our disposition, then out of nyaya, out of kripa or out of mercy, he can release one faster from this material world.
Thank you.
Okay? So both. Yes, anyone else? हाँ चलो. Yes, next, Sumer ji. हेलो
सर प्रणाम.
प्रणाम.
आप मुझे
हाँ जी, हाँ बोलिए.
हाँ सुन पा रहे हैं सर आप मुझे?
हाँ मैं सुन पा रहा हूँ, बोलिए.
सर आपने बताया कि जैसे 33 करोड़ डेमी गॉड हैं और एक सुप्रीम लॉर्ड है. सुप्रीम लॉर्ड कभी जन्म नहीं लेता, लेकिन जैसे हम सुनते हैं कि भगवान विष्णु के 10 अवतार हैं, जैसे परशुराम अवतार, राम के रूप में जन्म लिया, कृष्ण के रूप में जन्म लिया. तो ये तो मेरी पहली क्वेरी है कि जब आप बोल रहे हैं कि भगवान जन्म नहीं लेता है बार बार, तो जैसे कृष्णा के रूप में जन्म क्यों लिया, या राम के रूप में जन्म क्यों लिया, या परशुराम के रूप में जन्म क्यों लिया? दूसरा क्वेरी मेरी ये है सर, लॉर्ड शिवा को आप कहाँ मानते हैं, क्योंकि उनको भी परमेश्वर कहा जाता है. तो वेदर ही इज अ डेमी गॉड और ही इज.
अच्छा प्रश्न.
थैंक यू.
Can you hear me? Hello, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Yeah, the pictures are freeze or I don't know why.
Yes sir.
Okay. So सबसे पहले ये बहुत बड़ी कंफ्यूजन है कि कृष्ण विष्णु से आते हैं कि विष्णु कृष्ण से आते हैं. ठीक है, पहले तो इसका समाधान करें, है ना. Who is the incarnator and who is the incarnation? ठीक है जी. इंकारनेटर मतलब जिससे इंकारनेशन उत्पन्न होते हैं, और इंकारनेशन मतलब जो उत्पन्न होता है, जो अपीयर होता है, मैनिफेस्ट होता है. अकॉर्डिंग टू ब्रह्म संहिता, ईश्वरा परमा कृष्णा. अकॉर्डिंग टू भागवतम, एते चंश कलापुंश कृष्णस्तु भगवान स्वयं. According to scriptures, Krishna is the originator, incarnator, not Vishnu. That is point number one. Krishna expands in different forms, different incarnations. One is called Purusha Avatara. Purusha Avatara means different types of Vishnus manifest from Krishna. They are called as Karnodakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu and Shirodakshay Vishnu. अब ये कौन है? ये तीन विष्णु इस सृष्टि के क्रिएशन में मदद करते हैं या क्रिएशन को करते हैं. कृष्णा से विष्णु उत्पन्न होते हैं, विष्णु से अलग अलग यूनिवर्स उत्पन्न होते हैं. अब दोनों में अंतर क्या है? जो कृष्णा का ऑफिशियल फॉर्म है वो विष्णु है। जैसे एक उदाहरण लेते हैं, मान लो कि एक पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर है, ध्यान सुनिएगा इसको। पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर जब ऑफिस में रहता है तो वर्दी में रहता है, करेक्ट, यूनिफॉर्म में रहता है, करेक्ट। उसके हाथ में गन रहती है, डंडा रहता है ना, फॉर्मल फॉर्म में। जब लोग उसको मिलने के लिए आते हैं, सलाम करते हैं, सम्मान देते हैं, करेक्ट। बट वही पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर जब घर में आता है अपने परिवार के साथ, बच्चों के साथ, बीवी के साथ, तो वर्दी उतार देता है, डंडा साइड पे रखता है, पिस्टल साइड पे रखता है। बेटा बोलता है पापा घोड़े बन जाओ, तो वही पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर घोड़ा बन जाता है और बेटा उसके कंधे पे बैठता है। यस और नो? यस और नो?
यस सर।
वैसे ही ये कृष्णा जो है वो इंटीमेट रिलेशनशिप के लिए है भक्तों के साथ। वो घर वाला फॉर्म है पुलिस इंस्पेक्टर का, और ऑफिस वाला फॉर्म, फॉर्मल फॉर्म, वो विष्णु का है। कृष्णा रहते हैं गोलोक वृंदावन में और विष्णु रहते हैं वैकुंठ में। वैकुंठ ऑफिशियल फॉर्म है, जहां पर चतुर्भुजी विष्णु एक हाथ में गदा रखते हैं, एक हाथ में फूल रखते हैं, एक हाथ में चक्र रखते हैं, है ना? देखा होगा आपने चतुर्भुज विष्णु फॉर्म। इट इज ऑफिशियल फॉर्म ऑफ कृष्णा। लेकिन गोलोक वृंदावन में वही विष्णु कृष्ण के रूप में he has a very intimate relationship with his family members like Yashoda, cowherd boys, Radha Rani. That is a family atmosphere with a very intimate relationship. But the same Krishna appears in a formal form in the form of Vishnu. जब किसी को मारना होता है, वध करना होता है असुर का, तो विष्णु का रूप लेके आते हैं, अवतार लेके आते हैं, स्वयं नहीं मारते, विष्णु के फॉर्म में या किसी और अवतार के रूप में मारते हैं। ये अंतर है। So if you want to have very intimate loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is Krishna. If you want a very official relationship with Krishna, it is Vishnu. ठीक है? So Vishnu at home is Krishna and Krishna in office is Vishnu. ठीक है जी? Krishna in office is Vishnu and Vishnu at home is Krishna. Incarnator is Krishna. Krishnastu भगवान स्वयं। भागवतम के पहले स्कंद में भगवान के 24 अवतारों का वर्णन किया गया है। बाद में कहा गया है इन सब का जो इनकारनेटर है, ओरिजिनल है, वो भगवान कृष्ण है। ठीक है? तो ऐसे ही भगवान के कई अवतार होते हैं। जैसे मैंने बताया पुरुष अवतार, फिर लीला अवतार, भगवान राम, नरसिंह भगवान, मत्स्य, जो आकर अलग अलग लीलाएं करते हैं। तो गुणावतार, ब्रह्मा, शिव, महेश, है ना, ब्रह्मा, विष्णु, महेश, ये भगवान के गुणावतार हैं। जैसे प्रकृति 3 गुणों के माध्यम से चलती है, रजोगुण, तमोगुण, सत्वगुण। इन 3 गुणों के अलग अलग अधिष्ठाता देव हैं। सत्वगुण के विष्णु, रजोगुण के ब्रह्मा जी और तमोगुण के लॉर्ड शिवा। ठीक है? तो इनकारनेटर कृष्ण है, वो अलग अलग एक्सपेंशन में आते हैं अलग अलग कार्यों के लिए। क्या है? For different purposes, Krishna appears differently in different incarnations. That is point number 1. दूसरा, कृष्ण अलग अलग इंकारनेशन में हमारी तरह जन्म नहीं लेते। जैसे हम जन्म लेते हैं, 9 महीना पेट के अंदर रहते हैं, है ना, फिर मल मूत्र ब्लड के साथ बाहर निकलते हैं, ऐसे हमारा जन्म होता है। भगवान का जन्म ऐसे नहीं होता है। कृष्ण का जन्म नहीं होता है, कृष्ण का प्राकट्य होता है, अपीयरेंस होता है, नॉट बर्थ। तो कृष्ण के जन्म को हम एक्चुअली बोलते हैं अपीयरेंस ऑफ कृष्ण। क्या बोलते हैं? अपीयरेंस ऑफ कृष्ण। कृष्णा अपीयर्ड एंड डिसअपीयर्ड। हम ऐसे नहीं बोलते कृष्णा वाज बोर्न एंड कृष्णा डाइड। नो, कृष्णा अपीयर्ड। अभी जैसे इस यूनिवर्स के अंदर कृष्णा इज नॉट प्रेजेंट, but in some other universe Krishna is having his pastimes. Krishna disappeared from here and appeared in some other universe. ओके, सो कृष्णा नेवर डाइज। जब देवी के गर्भ से भगवान प्रकट हुए थे, तो कैसे प्रकट हुए थे पता है आपको? चतुर्भुजी फॉर्म में, विष्णु के फॉर्म में, एकदम ड्रेस पहने थे, पीतांबर वस्त्र धारण किए थे, मुकुट लगा हुआ था, चार हाथ में चार अलग तरह की चीजें पकड़े हुए थे। हमारा जन्म ऐसे नहीं होता है। वो फुल विष्णु के रूप में प्रकट हुए थे। इसलिए गीता में भगवान कहते हैं, जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेति तत्वता त्यक्त्वा देहम पुनर्जन्मा नैति मामेति स्वार्जुना। यानी कि जो कृष्ण के दिव्य जन्म और कर्म को समझ गया, वो दोबारा इस भौतिक जगत में वापस नहीं आएगा। लोग समझते नहीं है, इसलिए आते रहते। People do not understand the position of Krishna, transcendent position of Krishna. Krishna is not ordinary person like you and me. Krishna is supreme Lord. कृष्णा बोलते हैं, नाहम प्रकाशे सर्वस्या, मैं ऐरे गैरों को अपने आप को प्रकट नहीं करता, ओनली डिवोटीज। I appear only in front of my devotees who are surrendered, not to everybody else. So if we serve Krishna lovingly, Krishna will make himself present, make his presence felt. So ये हो गया कि कृष्णा हमारी तो जन्म नहीं लेते। कृष्णा appears and disappears in a specific form for a specific purpose. Okay. Now Lord Shiva की पोजीशन क्या है, ये आपका और प्रश्न था। लॉर्ड शिवा की पोजीशन डेमी गॉड से ऊपर है, लेकिन विष्णु से नीचे। ठीक है, सबसे ऊपर कृष्ण, जिनके अंदर 64 गुण पूर्ण मात्रा में है। उनसे नीचे विष्णु, जिनके अंदर 60 गुण पूर्ण मात्रा में है। उनके नीचे शिव जी, जिनके अंदर 55 गुण हैं। उनके नीचे ब्रह्मा जी और हम, जिनके अंदर 50 गुण हैं। शास्त्र में बताया गया कौन कौन से गुण विष्णु में हैं जो शिव में नहीं है, कौन से गुण कृष्ण में हैं जो विष्णु में नहीं है, कौन से गुण ब्रह्मा जी में है, सॉरी शिव जी में है जो हम में नहीं है। तो गुणों के आधार पर आपने बताया कि अभी अभी पढ़ा हमने भागवतम में क्या कहते हैं, जो व्यक्ति कृष्ण को समर्पित है वो मुझे बहुत प्रिय है। क्यों कहते हैं ऐसे? क्यों कहते हैं ऐसे? शिव जी स्वयं बोलते हैं तो चेतस को भागवतम के अंदर शिव जी को बोला जाता है परम वैष्णव। ही इज ए नंबर 1 प्योर डिवोटी ऑफ कृष्ण, लॉर्ड शिवा। दिस इज अ पोजीशन ऑफ शिवा। His position is higher than Brahma, higher than all the demigods, but lower than Vishnu, lower than Krishna. ठीक है जी, उत्तर मिला आपके प्रश्नों का? सुमेर जी?
जी सर।
अच्छा,
नहीं, क्योंकि सर भागवत पुराण और शिव पुराण दोनों ही ऑथेंटिक हैं। अकॉर्डिंग टू शिव पुराण, जो आदि अनंत ज्योतिर्लिंग है, उससे ब्रह्मा विष्णु की उत्पत्ति बताई जाती है एज पर शिवा पुराण से।
देखिए 18 पुराण हैं, ठीक है, करेक्ट। 18 पुराणों में 6 पुराण क्या बोलते हैं, तमोगुण लोगों के लिए हैं, 6 पुराण रजोगुणी में हैं और 6 पुराण सत्वगुणी में। ठीक है, और इनमें सबसे श्रेष्ठ भागवत पुराण को माना गया। किसको माना गया? भागवत पुराण। अब आपकी बात सही है कि जो लोअर ग्रेड के पुराण हैं तमोगुण रजोगुण में, उनमें किसी देवी देवता को भगवान के रूप में प्रकट किया गया है। जैसे आप बता रहे हैं शिव पुराण में बताया गया। क्यों बताया गया है? ताकि जो लोग शिव के भक्त हैं उनकी शिव में श्रद्धा को उत्पन्न करने के लिए। वेदों के कई भाग हैं, कर्म कांड, ज्ञान कांड और उपासना कांड। जो नया नया बच्चा आया है पढ़ने के लिए, मान लो कि वो 5-7 साल का बच्चा है, उसको 10वीं का सिलेबस नहीं समझा सकते, है ना, नहीं समझा सकते उसको। उसको वही समझा सकते हैं जो उसको समझ आएगा, ताकि उसका विश्वास बने, कम से कम वेदों में तो विश्वास बनेगा उसका। फिर धीरे धीरे उसकी प्रगति होती है, तमोगुण से रजोगुण में आता है, रजोगुण से सत्वगुण में आता है, फिर सत्वगुण से ऊपर विश्व सत्वगुण में आता है। जैसे छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाया जाता है, सूरज उगता है पूर्व से, सूरज ढलता है ना पश्चिम से, ये सिखाया जाता है। यस और नो? करेक्ट? यस और नो? लेकिन क्या सूरज उगता ढकता है क्या? सूरज तो कांस्टेंट है, पृथ्वी घूम रही है। लेकिन बच्चों को वही समझ आएगा, वैसे ही समझ आएगा। तो इसलिए पहले श्रद्धा, जिसमें श्रद्धा है उसको स्थापित करने के लिए ऐसे वाक्य दिए जाते हैं, लेकिन जब वो प्रगति करता है तो धीरे धीरे जो परम सत्य है उसको रिवील किया जाता है, ताकि उसकी शिव में श्रद्धा बने। धीरे धीरे श्रद्धा को जैसे फर्स्ट क्लास, सेकंड स्टैंडर्ड, सेकंड से थर्ड, थर्ड से फोर्थ, फोर्थ फिफ्थ, फिर 10th में जाके उसको कुछ थ्योरीज, कुछ एल्गोरिथम बताए जाते हैं, which might be different from what he studied in the first standard. शिवा की पोजीशन बहुत ऊंची है। क्या कहा जाता है कि जैसे दूध विष्णु है और दूध में यदि खट्टा लगा दिया जाए दही बन जाता है, वो दही शिव है। ठीक है? तो दूध तो दही बन सकता है, लेकिन दही वापस दूध नहीं बन सकता है, ये अंतर है। शिव जी के अंदर विष्णु के सारे गुण नहीं आ सकते। जैसे जो कारण विषय विष्णु है, बताया गया है शास्त्र में, उनके शरीर के रोम रोम से असंख्य ब्रह्मांड उत्पन्न होते हैं, विष्णु के शरीर से, शिव जी के शरीर से नहीं पॉसिबल। ये शिव जी के शरीर से संपन्न नहीं हो सकता है। मुक्ति प्रदाता विष्णु, मुक्ति प्रदाता सभी बताया ना, अभी श्लोक पढ़ा था हमने, कि मुक्ति प्रदान करने वाले कौन है? विष्णु, क्योंकि वो 3 गुणों से परे हैं। इसलिए जो व्यक्ति रस्सी में बंधा नहीं है वही खो सकता है, जो बंधा है वो कैसे खो सकता है? मुक्ति वही प्रदान कर सकते हैं जो 3 गुणों के प्रभाव में नहीं है, रस्सियों से बंधे नहीं, बाकी सब बंधे हुए। भगवान ने मोहिनी रूप में शिव जी को ही मोहित कर दिया था, पता है आपको ना? है ना? ब्रह्मा जी मोहित हो गए थे, शिव जी मोहित हो गए थे, इंद्र मोहित हो गए थे, लेकिन भगवान मोहित नहीं होते, मोहित करते हैं। ये अंतर है विष्णु और शिव में, या कृष्ण और शिव में। जो शिव जी के सच्चे भक्त हैं उनका शिव जी प्रमोशन करते हैं, उनको कृष्ण का भक्त बनाते हैं। है ना? उनको मदद करते हैं कृष्ण का भक्त बनने के लिए। जैसे जो हनुमान के सच्चे भक्त हैं, हनुमान मदद करते हैं उनको राम का भक्त बनने के लिए। जैसे हनुमान कहेंगे कि यदि कोई राम का भक्त है मुझे बहुत प्रिय है, वैसे शिव जी बोलते हैं यदि कोई कृष्ण का भक्त है मुझे बहुत प्रिय है। तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पोजीशन सबकी अलग अलग है, इसलिए उस पोजीशन के अनुसार हमको उनके साथ डील करना चाहिए, आदान प्रदान करना चाहिए। ठीक है सुमेर जी, डिड आई आंसर योर क्वेश्चन?
थैंक यू सर।
यस श्वेता जी। Yes, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is that, sir, Prabhuji, is there any difference among spiritual world, higher spiritual world, or Bakunda? Or and you have you told Lord Vishnu is stay in Bakund. Then where does Krishna live then?
हाँ, तो मैंने बीच में एक आपको वो दिखाया था, लेट मी शेयर दैट। ये देखिए, कैन यू सी?
Yes, yes.
एट द बॉटम इज मटीरियल वर्ल्ड, ठीक है, जहां हम लोग रहते हैं, देवी देवता रहते हैं. In the middle is Vaikuntha. There are many Vaikuntha planets. Like there are so many incarnations of Krishna, है ना? Narasimha Bhagwan, Matsya. So for every one of them, there is a Vaikuntha planet.
Okay.
So there are many Vishnus, many incarnations. On the top is called Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna stays.
Okay.
और डिफरेंस क्या है तीनों में? ठीक है, ये समझने का प्रयास करते हैं. ध्यान सुनिएगा. Material world is temporary, is destructible. ठीक है, उसकी सृष्टि होती है, उसका अंत होता है. So like all of us have a beginning, have an end, have a birth date, have a death date. Correct? Similarly, this material world has a birth date, has a death date. Temporary. Dukhalayam shashvatam. It is like a jail, prison house. For people who do not follow laws of spiritual world, they are sent to this jail called as material world. Okay. And we are given this human body is like a dress to a prisoner. हमको वर्दी मिलती है ना जेल में, हमको शरीर मिलता है. ठीक है. पर्पस क्या है शरीर का? सुधारना है अपने आप को. You have to purify our consciousness so that we again elevated and go to Vaikuntha or Krishna lok. अब वैकुंठ और कृष्ण लोक में अंतर क्या है? ये अंतर समझना चाहिए. करेक्ट? Krishna reciprocates with his devotees primarily in 5 rasas, 5 mellows. One is called Shanta rasa, second is called Dasya rasa, third is called Sakya rasa, fourth is called Vasalya rasa, and fifth is called Madhuri rasa. कृष्ण अपने भक्तों के साथ ये 5 रसों में आदान प्रदान करते हैं. ठीक है जी? करेक्ट? जो पहले 2 रस हैं प्रीडोमिनेंटली शांत और दास्य, ये वैकुंठा में है. जिसमें भगवान को भगवान के रूप में देखा जाता है. समझ रहे हैं ना? वो विष्णु 4 हाथ, 1 गदा, ये वो, एंड बाकी हम सब सेवक हैं उनके. ये भाव है वैकुंठ का. ठीक है. So Krishna or Vishnu exchanges loving relationship with his devotees in terms of master and servant. This is Vaikuntha. Correct? But Krishna also exchanges loving relationship in the form of sakha or friendship relationship or vasalya, mother-child, father-child relationship, or madhurya, husband-wife relationship. That happens in Golok Vrindavan, not in Vaikuntha. Very intimate relationship with devotees, like friends, like mother and child, like father-child, like beloved and lover, is only in Golok Vrindavan. Very intimate. The difference between Vaikuntha and Golok is, in Golok, Krishna has very intimate relationship with his devotees, and in Vaikuntha, Krishna has very formal relationship with devotees.
Okay.
Like
What should
official relationship and house relationship. That is the difference.
Okay.
Like Yashoda Maiya is in Golok, enjoying Vasalya, right?
Yes.
Gopis, Madhuri in Golok, not in Vaikuntha. Make sense?
Okay. Exactly. My confusion is now. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Thank you.
So what should what should be our purpose to gain Golok Vrindavan or Vaikunt? Firstly,
See, if you want to go for the highest goal, then it is Golok.
Okay.
Most intimate relationship. If you just want to get liberated, I just want to free from this material world, Janam Jara Vyadi, then Vaikuntha is okay.
Okay, so बिना वैकुंठ को पास करे वो स्टेज नहीं आ सकती. Firstly, we should pass through Vaikunth,
Or
then
you can go straight to Golok.
okay, okay, we can go straight to Gokul,
Yes.
Golok Vrindavan. Okay,
Yes.
okay, sir.
Happy now?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण। और कोई किसी का प्रश्न है? सुमेर जी, आपका प्रश्न है, आपने हाथ उठाया हुआ है। आपका हाथ, your hand is raised. अच्छा, पहले का। Anyone else? Dharmin. Yes. Yes. Yes, Dharmin. Yes, बोलो। I can't hear you. You're not audible. Somehow your audio is not connected, looks like. Maybe you can disconnect, connect again. There's some problem with your audio. But Lord Shiva is called Devo Ke Dev, Mahadev, as we heard. Yes, correct. He is the best amongst demigods. His position is, Lord Shiva's position is, he is best amongst demigods. Okay? Not Lord. Who decided the hierarchy of God and demigods and how? It is Krishna's decision, Prabhuji, Mr. Mahajan. Okay? He is the creator. Right? He decides who will do what, who will get what position, yeah, what portfolio, who will get education ministry, who will get finance ministry. It is purely his decision. Any other question? You can ask any question. Please don't feel shy. Yeah. Because there are a lot of confusions regarding this subject matter. So we should clarify all of them today. Anyone else? If there are no more questions, we can wind up. We can close. Yes? Mr. Tanwar, do you have any question? Rajendra Kumar Tanwar ji, कोई प्रश्न है आपका? आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. आपकी भी आवाज नहीं आ रही. I can't hear you. I don't know, some problem. ये तो आप मुझे व्हाट्सएप कर सकते हैं. व्हाट्सएप कर दीजिए मैसेज आपका है. आई विल ट्राई टू रिप्लाई. सो वी क्लोज. टाइम काफी हो गया. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. We'll see you next week with very important subject in terms of what is our real identity. Who are we? Who am I? Okay. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.